Imagine standing at the edge of your own potential, feeling the weight of every choice you've made, every moment you've wasted, and every second slipping through your fingers. Deep down, you know you are capable of more, that the life you are living now is only a fraction of what you were meant to create, and yet the voice inside whispers excuses, doubts, and fears. It tells you to wait, to settle, to be comfortable, and it lulls you into mediocrity while the world continues to move forward without mercy. But right now, at this very moment, you have a decision to make. A decision that will define not just your day, not just your week, but the trajectory of your entire life. This is not about motivation that fades in hours or days. This is about a transformation that will reshape the way you think, act, and conquer every obstacle in your path. The truth is that discipline is not optional. It is the unspoken law of success, the invisible force that separates those who achieve from those who merely dream. Every second you waste, every moment you succumb to distraction, every time you hesitate, you are choosing comfort over conquest. And yet, within you lies a power so immense that if unleashed, it could obliterate limitations, crush excuses, and create a version of yourself so unstoppable that nothing in the world could stand in your way. That power begins with a single realization: the only thing holding you back from extraordinary achievement is the failure to command yourself, to force yourself, to live deliberately and relentlessly every single day. Your mind is both your greatest ally and your fiercest enemy. It whispers fear when courage is required, doubts when action is demanded, and laziness when persistence is crucial. To become unstoppable, you must learn to master your thoughts, to silence the destructive narratives, and to replace hesitation with decisive, relentless action. You must confront the uncomfortable truth that growth demands pain, struggle, and persistence, and that there will be moments when every fiber of your being wants to surrender. In those moments, you will discover the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary, between those who remain in the shadows and those who rise to dominate their destiny. Discipline is not about fleeting motivation. It is about building a lifestyle where action flows naturally from identity. It is about creating daily rituals that sculpt your body, sharpen your mind, and fortify your spirit. It is about committing to the uncomfortable, embracing the struggle, and turning small, consistent actions into unstoppable momentum. The life you crave, the respect, the freedom, the mastery, the victories will not arrive by chance. It will be the product of relentless consistency, mental mastery, and the courage to face every challenge head-on without compromise. This journey will demand everything from you, but it will give you something far greater in return: the certainty that you are no longer subject to circumstance, doubt, or fleeting emotion. You will rise above excuses, crush hesitation, and live with a relentless clarity that commands results. Every moment of action, every decision to persist, and every refusal to quit will forge you into someone unrecognizable from the person who hesitated yesterday. By the end of this experience, you will not just understand discipline, you will live it, breathe it, and embody it. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to learn will awaken a force inside of you that cannot be stopped, and the life you have always imagined will no longer be a dream, it will be inevitable. Discipline begins with a choice, a deliberate decision to prioritize growth, achievement, and progress over temporary comfort and fleeting pleasures. It is the conscious act of forcing yourself to act with purpose, even when your instincts resist, even when the easiest path tempts you toward procrastination and avoidance. The power of relentless commitment is not something you are born with. It is something you cultivate, moment by moment, decision by decision. Every act of discipline, no matter how small, compounds over time, shaping your character, your results, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. Choosing discipline over comfort is the first step toward mastery, and it is this choice that separates those who achieve extraordinary success from those who drift through life without direction or control. Comfort is deceptive. It whispers promises of ease, rest, and temporary satisfaction, while quietly eroding ambition, stamina, and potential. Every time you give in to comfort, you reinforce patterns of mediocrity and your capacity for greatness diminishes. The path of discipline is uncomfortable, but it is in discomfort that strength, resilience, and excellence are forged. When you choose action over ease, you train your mind and body to operate beyond the limits imposed by laziness or fear. This choice is not about punishing yourself, it is about investing in your future self, creating a life where freedom, power, and achievement are the natural outcomes of consistent effort. Relentless commitment demands clarity of purpose. Discipline without direction is mere rigidity. It becomes mechanical, uninspired, and unsustainable. To truly commit, you must define what you are striving for, what you refuse to compromise on, and why it matters more than momentary comfort. Purpose fuels perseverance, giving you the energy to endure challenges, ignore distractions, and keep moving forward when the temptation to quit is overwhelming. Every time you remind yourself of your why, discipline transforms from an external obligation into an internal drive, a force that propels you even when motivation fades. Self-awareness is essential in this process. To force yourself to be disciplined, you must confront the areas where you are weakest, most vulnerable to laziness, and most prone to distraction. Awareness allows you to identify patterns, triggers, and excuses that sabotage progress. Once these are recognized, they can be systematically dismantled through deliberate action. Discipline is not abstract, it is the intentional response to the knowledge of your own tendencies, fears, and limitations. By observing yourself without judgment, you gain the insight needed to override impulses and choose consistent action over indulgence. The practice of discipline is built in the daily decisions you make, the routines you establish, and the standards you refuse to compromise. It is not reserved for extraordinary moments. It is cultivated in ordinary, repetitive acts that accumulate into extraordinary results. Rising early, committing to tasks even when unmotivated, saying no to distractions, and holding yourself accountable are all examples of the daily rituals that build unshakable discipline. Each act strengthens the mental muscle that allows you to persevere through discomfort, resist temptation, and remain focused on what truly matters. Relentless commitment also requires resilience. Discipline is tested in moments of adversity, fatigue, and temptation. Your ability to maintain focus and act, despite challenges, determines the depth of your growth. Those who force themselves to stay disciplined develop an unbreakable mindset, a mental toughness that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Every time you choose to act rather than yield, to persevere rather than quit, you reinforce a cycle of strength and confidence that prepares you for even greater challenges. Accountability amplifies the power of commitment. While self-discipline is internal, external accountability, whether through mentors, peers, or systems of tracking progress, ensures that commitment is honored even when resolve wavers. Leaders, athletes, and high achievers understand that consistency requires reinforcement, and accountability provides the structure necessary to maintain relentless effort. When you combine internal discipline with external accountability, you create a force that is nearly unstoppable, capable of sustaining action even when motivation is absent. Visualization and mental rehearsal enhance your ability to choose discipline over comfort. By imagining the outcomes you desire, the person you want to become, and the life you intend to build, you create a compelling vision that makes temporary sacrifice feel purposeful. Discipline becomes easier to sustain when the long-term rewards are vivid, tangible, and emotionally compelling. Every act of commitment is a step toward realizing that vision, and every moment of discomfort becomes an investment in a future defined by mastery, achievement, and freedom. Ultimately, the power of relentless commitment is a mindset, a lifestyle, and a practice that transforms ordinary individuals into extraordinary achievers. It is forged through choice, maintained through awareness, and strengthened through daily action. Comfort will always tempt you, and challenges will always arise, but your ability to force yourself to act, to persist, and to prioritize purpose over ease determines the quality of your life, the depth of your influence, and the magnitude of your accomplishments. Discipline is not an occasional effort. It is a relentless, ongoing practice that becomes the defining force of your existence. The path to mastery begins with a single decision: to act consistently, to endure discomfort, and to refuse the seduction of temporary ease. Every day that you choose discipline over comfort, you become stronger, more capable, and more aligned with the person you are destined to become. Relentless commitment is not a task, it is your identity. It is the choice to embrace discomfort, pursue excellence, and forge a life that reflects the power, potential, and vision within you. To force yourself to be disciplined is to take control of your destiny, one deliberate action at a time, until achievement becomes inevitable and greatness becomes your standard. Laziness is one of the most subtle and destructive enemies of progress. It does not always appear as outright inaction. Often, it masquerades as harmless distractions, endless planning without execution, or the quiet rationalizations that convince you tomorrow is always the better day to start. To force yourself to be disciplined, you must first confront laziness directly, recognize it for what it is, and refuse to allow it to dictate the course of your life. Laziness is not a permanent state, it is a habit, a choice, and a pattern that can be broken through awareness, strategy, and relentless action. Confronting your weakest self requires brutal honesty, courage, and the willingness to face the parts of you that resist effort, responsibility, and discomfort. The first step in breaking free from laziness is acknowledging its presence. Most people live in denial, justifying inaction with excuses, circumstances, or the false comfort of waiting for motivation to appear. The truth is that motivation is unreliable, fleeting, and often absent when it is needed most. Discipline does not wait for desire. It creates action independent of emotion. Recognizing that laziness is the barrier between you and your goals is essential, because without this awareness, you will continue to drift, blaming external factors instead of taking responsibility for your life. Your weakest self, the version of you that avoids discomfort, procrastinates, and seeks immediate gratification, must be confronted with unwavering honesty, acknowledging both its presence and its consequences. Breaking laziness requires a shift in mindset. You must cultivate a mental environment where effort is not optional but necessary, where action is the default response to every opportunity. This begins by redefining your relationship with discomfort. Laziness thrives in the avoidance of effort, but effort itself is the path to growth, strength, and mastery. By embracing discomfort as the fuel for progress, you rewire your mind to seek challenges rather than avoid them. Every time you choose action over inertia, you weaken the grip of laziness and strengthen the habit of discipline. The mind that learns to act despite resistance becomes unshakable, confident, and capable of extraordinary achievement. Self-awareness is critical in this process. You must identify the triggers, excuses, and patterns that feed your laziness. Perhaps it is the allure of social media, the comfort of a bed, or the deceptive reasoning that tasks can wait. Once these triggers are recognized, they can be neutralized through deliberate strategies. The process of confronting your weakest self involves observing your behavior without judgment, understanding the mechanisms that lead to avoidance, and implementing systems that compel action even when your will is weak. Laziness is habitual, but habit can be replaced with intention, planning, and consistent execution. Accountability acts as a powerful antidote to laziness. When you hold yourself responsible, or when others hold you to a standard, it becomes more difficult to retreat into avoidance. Accountability magnifies the cost of inaction, making the choice to act not just desirable, but necessary. This can take many forms: public commitments, tracking progress, mentorship, or structured routines. Whatever form it takes, accountability transforms discipline from an internal struggle into a structured, enforceable practice. It ensures that even when laziness whispers its seductive lies, you remain on course, committed to your purpose and your growth. Small, consistent actions dismantle laziness more effectively than sporadic bursts of effort. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by the magnitude of goals, but the key is to focus on incremental progress. Each small action, repeated daily, weakens the influence of inertia and builds momentum. Laziness cannot withstand sustained, consistent effort. By breaking tasks into manageable steps, creating routines, and celebrating small wins, you create a system that leaves no room for avoidance. Momentum becomes a weapon against the parts of you that seek ease, proving that sustained effort is not only possible, but inevitable. Discipline requires mental toughness, and breaking laziness is a mental battle as much as a physical or behavioral one. Your weakest self will resist, complain, and attempt to rationalize inaction. You must respond with mental fortitude, reminding yourself of your goals, your vision, and the consequences of surrender. Every confrontation with laziness is a training session for your willpower, building resilience, persistence, and the unshakable habit of acting, even when it feels uncomfortable. Mental toughness transforms the experience of effort from punishment into empowerment and from struggle into mastery. Visualization and focus enhance the fight against laziness. Picture the life you desire, the person you aim to become, and the freedom that discipline will bring. Laziness thrives when the mind is clouded with distraction or short-sighted thinking. By keeping your vision clear and your focus sharp, you make the cost of inaction tangible and the rewards of discipline irresistible. Every time you act against your weakest self, you reinforce a narrative of strength, capability, and unyielding commitment. Laziness loses its power because your mind becomes occupied with purpose, action, and the compelling urgency of your own potential. Breaking the chains of laziness is not a one-time act, it is a daily relentless practice. It requires confronting yourself honestly, resisting temptation, and choosing action repeatedly. Over time, this practice reshapes your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who avoids effort or seeks comfort. You see yourself as someone who acts decisively, commits relentlessly, and thrives in discomfort. Laziness no longer defines you. It becomes an obstacle you have learned to overcome consistently, systematically, and unconditionally. The path to discipline begins with facing your weakest self and refusing to surrender to it. Laziness is a choice, comfort is a trap, and action is the gateway to mastery. Every time you force yourself to act, push past hesitation, and embrace discomfort, you reclaim power over your life. Confronting laziness is the crucible in which your will is forged, your habits are solidified, and your potential becomes reality. To break these chains is to reclaim your life, step into authority over your own actions, and build the foundation for a disciplined, unstoppable, and extraordinary existence. Discipline is not a fleeting moment of motivation. It is the sum of repeated actions, habits, and ritual that define your life. The most powerful individuals are not those who occasionally push themselves to succeed, but those who establish daily practices that shape their thoughts, behaviors, and responses to every circumstance. Daily rituals are the foundation of an unbreakable will because they create structure, reinforce habits, and train the mind to act decisively and consistently. When discipline becomes a ritual rather than a choice, it ceases to depend on motivation, mood, or external conditions. It becomes automatic, unyielding, and unstoppable. The first step in forging an unbreakable will is to recognize the power of repetition. The human mind and body are wired to respond to patterns. Small repeated actions compound into extraordinary results over time. By designing rituals that align with your goals, you harness this natural law, converting consistent effort into progress that is measurable and undeniable. Daily rituals create momentum, and momentum is the fuel of mastery. Each morning action, each intentional practice, and each disciplined choice builds upon the last, creating a chain of progress that strengthens both character and capability. Consistency is the heartbeat of daily rituals. It is not enough to act sporadically or only when inspiration strikes. True discipline requires unwavering adherence to practices that cultivate strength, focus, and resilience. This consistency creates an identity. Over time, your rituals shape who you are and how you respond to challenges. you begin to see yourself not as someone who occasionally exerts effort, but as someone whose very existence is defined by commitment, reliability, and determination. Your will becomes unbreakable not through a single heroic act, but through the accumulation of countless small actions executed without compromise. The design of your rituals is critical. They must serve your goals, reinforce your values, and challenge you to grow. A ritual is not merely a habit. It is a deliberate choice that aligns your daily behavior with long-term vision. This might include waking early to train the body and mind, dedicating time to focus on high-priority tasks, practicing reflection and gratitude, or establishing routines that enhance physical, mental, and emotional strength. Each ritual is a building block, creating a structure that reinforces discipline, minimizes decision fatigue, and eliminates the space for excuses or indecision. Rituals also fortify mental resilience. The mind naturally seeks comfort, avoidance, and instant gratification, but a well-structured daily practice forces it to operate in discomfort, challenge, and effort. Over time, this repeated exposure to intentional difficulty strengthens the ability to act decisively under pressure. You train your brain to overcome resistance, to remain focused when distracted, and to persevere when tired. Mental toughness is forged in the daily grind of deliberate rituals, not in sporadic bursts of enthusiasm. The unbreakable will is a byproduct of this consistent mental training, a shield against weakness and doubt. Time management is an essential component of effective rituals. Each action must be purposeful and aligned with your priorities. A well-crafted routine maximizes energy, eliminates wasted time, and ensures that you are progressing toward meaningful objectives every day. The discipline of allocating time intentionally strengthens focus and reduces the likelihood of surrendering to laziness or distraction. By controlling your schedule, you assert authority over your life, shaping your destiny through deliberate, consistent effort. Accountability magnifies the impact of daily rituals. Tracking progress, measuring outcomes, and holding yourself responsible for execution ensures that your rituals produce tangible results. External accountability can also reinforce internal discipline, whether through mentorship, peer support, or systems that monitor adherence. Rituals without accountability may fade into inconsistency, but when reinforced by commitment and measurement, they become powerful engines of progress, driving growth that compounds exponentially. The emotional component of rituals cannot be ignored. Discipline is strengthened when rituals evoke purpose, pride, and identity. Each repeated action becomes a testament to your commitment, a reminder of your resilience, and proof of your capacity to achieve greatness. These emotions reinforce behavior, creating a feedback loop that solidifies your identity as a disciplined individual. Over time, discipline becomes ingrained, effortless, and natural, not because it is easy, but because your rituals have sculpted your mind and character to operate at a higher standard. Flexibility within structure is also important. While rituals must be consistent, they must also evolve as you grow. Adjusting routines to reflect progress, changing priorities, or new challenges ensures that your practices remain effective and aligned with your goals. Discipline is not rigidity, it is the deliberate, conscious choice to act with intention every day, adapting when necessary but never abandoning purpose or commitment. Ultimately, daily rituals forge an unbreakable will because they train the mind, body, and spirit to act consistently, decisively, and purposefully. They transform effort into habit, discomfort into strength, and intention into identity. Through repetition, accountability, mental toughness, and emotional reinforcement, rituals become the invisible architecture of a disciplined life, ensuring that you act not because you feel like it, but because your habits demand it. Discipline becomes automatic, relentless, and unstoppable, creating a foundation from which extraordinary achievements emerge. When you commit to your daily rituals, you are not merely performing tasks, you are crafting a life of mastery, resilience, and unstoppable momentum. The unbreakable will is not born. It is built, one deliberate action at a time, repeated consistently until excellence becomes inevitable, and discipline becomes the defining force of your existence. Discipline is not merely a function of physical effort. It is first and foremost a battle waged in the mind. The thoughts you entertain, the beliefs you hold, and the mental patterns you reinforce dictate the actions you take, the persistence you exhibit, and the level of success you ultimately achieve. Mastering your thoughts is the cornerstone of mastering your actions, because the mind is both the architect and the executor of behavior. To force yourself to be disciplined, you must first recognize that every action begins as a thought, and every thought has the power to either propel you forward or hold you captive. The journey to unshakable discipline begins by taking control of the mental landscape, cultivating clarity, focus, and the unwavering belief that effort, consistency, and perseverance are non-negotiable. Your mind is constantly generating signals, impulses, and suggestions, many of which are rooted in fear, comfort, or past conditioning. Without conscious intervention, these mental patterns dictate behavior automatically, leading to procrastination, distraction, and avoidance. Laziness, doubt, and hesitation are born in the mind long before they manifest in action. Understanding this, the disciplined individual learns to observe thoughts without surrendering to them, to recognize mental resistance as a temporary signal rather than a directive, and to replace automatic patterns with intentional, purpose-driven thinking. Mastery of the mind is therefore mastery over the forces that would otherwise undermine progress. Self-talk is one of the most powerful tools in shaping action. Every phrase you repeat internally, every narrative you tell yourself about your capabilities and potential directly influences your behavior. Negative self-talk fosters inaction, fear, and indecision, while positive, assertive, and focused internal dialogue drives energy, clarity, and persistence. To cultivate discipline, it is essential to reprogram self-talk, replacing doubt with conviction, excuses with responsibility, and hesitation with determination. The way you speak to yourself internally becomes the blueprint for the way you act externally. Every moment of mental reinforcement strengthens the neural pathways associated with focus, resilience, and relentless effort. Visualization amplifies the power of thought. By imagining the actions required, the obstacles that will arise, and the results that will follow, you prepare your mind to execute with precision and purpose. The mental rehearsal of success and the conscious anticipation of challenges allow you to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively. Your thoughts become aligned with action, creating a seamless connection between intention and execution. Mastery over the mind ensures that your actions are not random or inconsistent, but deliberate, strategic, and effective in advancing your goals. Emotional regulation is a crucial aspect of mental mastery. The mind influences not only thoughts but also emotional responses, which in turn affect behavior. Fear, frustration, and self-doubt are natural but destructive when unregulated. Discipline is built when you learn to acknowledge emotions without letting them dictate action. Emotional resilience, cultivated through awareness, reflection, and mental training, allows you to persist in the face of difficulty, maintain focus under pressure, and act decisively even when conditions are uncomfortable. The mind becomes a tool rather than a limitation, enabling you to navigate challenges without surrendering to impulsivity or avoidance. Focus is the bridge between thought and action. The ability to direct attention intentionally, to eliminate distractions, and to engage fully in the task at hand is a skill that is honed through mental discipline. Your mind will constantly attempt to wander, to seek comfort, or to entertain irrelevant concerns, but mastery requires anchoring your thoughts to purpose and priority. The more consistently you practice focused attention, the easier it becomes to act decisively, complete tasks efficiently, and maintain momentum even when motivation is absent. Discipline thrives in an environment of concentrated mental effort, where the mind serves the will rather than resisting it. Belief in your own capacity is foundational to mental mastery. The mind has a tendency to underestimate potential, overemphasize difficulty, and magnify failure. A disciplined individual cultivates unshakable belief, not as blind optimism, but as a conscious, practiced conviction that effort, perseverance, and consistency produce results. Belief reinforces action because the mind no longer questions the value or feasibility of effort. When you internalize this truth, discipline ceases to be a struggle and becomes a natural expression of your mindset, an automatic response to every challenge, task, or goal. Mental mastery also requires awareness of habitual thinking. Patterns of procrastination, self-doubt, and distraction are often automatic, arising from unconscious conditioning. To break these patterns, you must actively monitor thoughts, intercept destructive impulses, and redirect mental energy toward constructive, action-oriented thinking. Habits of mind shape habits of behavior. Therefore, deliberate mental practice is essential. Journaling, reflection, meditation, and intentional planning are tools that allow the mind to be trained, focused, and aligned with purpose. The disciplined mind anticipates challenges, resists temptation, and orchestrates effort with precision. Every decision you make is influenced by thought, and every action is preceded by mental preparation. Mastery of the mind transforms the seemingly impossible into achievable action because it allows you to act consistently, even when motivation falters, energy is low, or circumstances are difficult. Mental discipline is not about eliminating challenges or discomfort. It is about conditioning the mind to respond with clarity, focus, and determination regardless of external conditions. Your thoughts become your allies, guiding action, reinforcing persistence, and sustaining effort over time. Ultimately, to force yourself to be disciplined is to cultivate the ability to master your own mind. When you control your thoughts, you control your choices, your habits, and your destiny. Every action becomes deliberate, every effort purposeful, and every obstacle an opportunity to strengthen resilience. Mastering the mind transforms effort from struggle into strategy, from resistance into momentum, and from inconsistency into unstoppable progress. Discipline is born in the mind first, and only then does it manifest in action. The unbreakable will, the relentless pursuit of goals, and the extraordinary results you seek all originate in the conscious mastery of your thoughts. Growth is never comfortable. True transformation, mastery, and achievement are inseparable from struggle, challenge, and pain. The human tendency is to avoid discomfort, to cling to ease, and to resist experiences that push the boundaries of what is familiar. Yet it is precisely these moments of discomfort that character is forged, resilience is strengthened, and the foundation for extraordinary achievement is laid. To force yourself to be disciplined, you must embrace struggle, not as an obstacle, but as an ally, a teacher whose lessons, though painful, are essential to becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable than you ever thought possible. Pain is the feedback mechanism of growth. It signals areas where you are resisting, avoiding, or holding back. The physical burn of exertion, the mental fatigue of focus, the emotional tension of challenging decisions, all are indicators that you are stepping beyond your comfort zone. Each moment of discomfort is an opportunity to test your commitment, push your limits, and prove to yourself that you can endure and overcome. Those who seek comfort at all costs sacrifice growth, while those who embrace pain as a guide unlock potential previously hidden behind fear, hesitation, and self-doubt. Discipline is intimately linked with the willingness to endure struggle. Every action that moves you closer to your goals carries with it some level of discomfort. Rising early, completing tasks you would rather avoid, facing criticism, or persevering despite setbacks, all are painful in the moment, but necessary for lasting achievement. The difference between ordinary individuals and those who accomplish extraordinary things is their relationship with this pain. They do not resist it, complain about it, or wish it away. They welcome it as a signal that progress is happening. Pain becomes not a barrier, but a confirmation that effort is being applied where it matters most. Mental resilience is built in the crucible of struggle. Each time you push through difficulty, your mind becomes stronger, more adaptable, and less susceptible to fear, doubt, or distraction. Resilience is not innate, it is cultivated through repeated exposure to situations that challenge patience, stamina, and focus. By confronting the pain of growth deliberately and consistently, you train yourself to respond to adversity with determination rather than avoidance, to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats, and to persevere even when conditions are unfavorable. Struggle is the gym where your mental toughness is forged. Embracing struggle requires a shift in perspective. Most people interpret pain as a signal to stop, avoid, or retreat. The disciplined individual reframes pain as information, as a guide that reveals what needs attention, adjustment, and effort. The discomfort of failure, criticism, or exhaustion is no longer a punishment but a tool, a raw material from which strength, insight, and improvement are created. Each painful experience becomes a building block, contributing to a mindset capable of enduring and thriving in the face of any challenge. Physical and emotional discomfort are not the only forms of pain relevant to growth. Intellectual struggle, decision-making under pressure, and the discipline of delayed gratification also involve pain. The effort required to learn new skills, master complex concepts, or resist temptation is inherently uncomfortable. Those who embrace these challenges willingly understand that mastery, achievement, and freedom are the rewards for enduring and learning from the discomfort inherent in the process. Pain is therefore inseparable from growth, and the disciplined individual accepts it as the price of progress. Consistency during struggle amplifies growth. Facing difficulty occasionally is useful, but true transformation arises from persistent, repeated effort in the face of discomfort. Discipline becomes meaningful when action is taken daily, even when resistance is strong and temptation to quit is greater. Each small act of perseverance compounds, creating momentum, strengthening character, and reinforcing the mental and emotional frameworks that support long-term success. Growth is not instantaneous. It is the product of sustained effort applied during moments that challenge you the most. Self-awareness enhances the ability to embrace struggle by understanding which areas of your life provoke resistance, discomfort, or avoidance. You can intentionally engage with them, applying effort where it is most impactful. Awareness allows you to distinguish between pain that is necessary for growth and pain that is unproductive or self-destructive. The disciplined individual seeks the former, confronts it, and transforms it into a stepping stone while avoiding the trap of unnecessary suffering that leads only to frustration or burnout. Visualization and purpose strengthen the capacity to endure pain. By keeping a clear vision of your goals, future self, and the outcomes you desire, the temporary discomfort of growth becomes meaningful. Struggle is no longer random or punitive. It is an investment in the person you are becoming. Every moment of effort, every sacrifice, and every challenge endured is a deposit in the account of your future achievements. Purpose transforms pain into fuel, providing motivation, focus, and clarity even in the most difficult moments. Ultimately, embracing struggle as an ally is essential to forcing yourself to be disciplined. Growth is not a byproduct of comfort, it is a consequence of persistent effort applied in the face of difficulty. Pain teaches, shapes, and strengthens, creating a foundation upon which mastery, achievement, and resilience are built. Those who shy away from discomfort remain stagnant, while those who embrace it relentlessly unlock levels of capability, confidence, and success that others can only imagine. Struggle is the furnace in which discipline is tempered, and the disciplined individual walks willingly into the fire, knowing that the pain of today is the power, freedom, and achievement of tomorrow. To truly grow, you must stop resisting discomfort, stop avoiding struggle, and start seeing every challenge as an opportunity to forge your will, sharpen your focus, and strengthen your resilience. Discipline is born in the willingness to endure what others flee, to persist when ease tempts, and to act decisively when fear whispers retreat. The pain of growth is not an enemy to escape. It is your greatest ally, your most honest teacher, and the indispensable price of becoming the person you were meant to be. Consistency is the secret that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Talent, opportunity, and motivation may spark action, but it is relentless consistency that transforms effort into results, potential into mastery, and ordinary individuals into unstoppable forces. The power of small wins compounded over time is enormous. Each deliberate action, no matter how minor it may seem in isolation, contributes to a growing foundation of progress, skill, and self-confidence. To force yourself to be disciplined, you must understand that consistency is not a passive virtue but a weapon, an active strategy to dominate your goals, shape your habits, and achieve excellence where others falter. The human mind seeks immediate gratification, and it is easy to underestimate the value of repeated small actions. However, mastery is never achieved through sporadic bursts of effort or fleeting motivation. Real progress is the result of cumulative actions performed consistently over time. Each day you commit to the process, each task you complete without excuse, and each deliberate choice to act despite resistance strengthens the neural pathways of discipline, endurance, and capability. Over weeks, months, and years, these small wins compound, creating momentum that makes progress inevitable and failure increasingly unlikely. Consistency requires structure and intentionality. Random effort or inconsistent routines produce limited results and leave potential untapped. To wield consistency as a weapon, you must design systems, schedules, and habits that remove reliance on fleeting willpower. The disciplined individual aligns daily behavior with long-term goals, ensuring that every action contributes meaningfully to progress. These systems minimize decision fatigue, reduce distractions, and make adherence to discipline automatic. By embedding consistency into the architecture of your life, you create a mechanism that executes progress relentlessly, even when motivation wanes or obstacles arise. The psychology of small wins is profound. Achieving minor victories generates feedback loops that reinforce positive behavior, increase confidence, and build momentum. Each completed task, each early morning, each act of focus or restraint is evidence that you are capable, reliable, and committed. These small wins are not trivial. They accumulate, creating a sense of identity and reinforcing the belief that consistent effort produces results. Over time, this identity of discipline becomes self-sustaining, where the mind expects action, progress, and accountability as natural states of being. Accountability magnifies the power of consistency. Tracking progress, measuring results, and holding yourself responsible for execution ensures that repeated actions remain aligned with purpose. External systems of accountability, whether through mentors, peers, or structured routines, reinforce the internal drive to act consistently. They serve as reminders that discipline is not optional but essential, and that each day without action is a day lost to mediocrity. Consistency without accountability risks complacency, ACC. Accountability ensures that small wins continue to accumulate into meaningful, measurable progress. Patience is an essential companion to consistency. The compounding effect of small wins is often invisible in the short term, and it is tempting to abandon efforts when immediate results are not apparent. Discipline requires the ability to act without constant validation, to trust the process, and to commit to the long-term payoff of cumulative effort. Just as compound interest grows quietly yet powerfully over time, consistent action builds skills, habits, and outcomes that ultimately exceed the impact of sporadic, high-intensity bursts of effort. Patience allows you to endure, knowing that each day contributes incrementally to mastery. Focus and prioritization are critical to making consistency effective. Not all actions are equal. Energy and attention must be directed toward high-leverage activities that drive meaningful results. Consistency becomes a weapon when it is purposeful, targeted, and aligned with your most important objectives. Repeatedly acting in areas of highest impact ensures that effort compounds in the direction of growth rather than dissipating on trivial tasks or distractions. Discipline is magnified when consistent action is paired with strategic focus, creating exponential progress toward mastery. Consistency also strengthens resilience and mental toughness. Each day that you act despite fatigue, distraction, or resistance reinforces the belief in your ability to endure, persist, and succeed. The repeated confrontation with obstacles and challenges trains the mind to remain unwavering in commitment, making future adversity easier to face. This mental fortitude is a byproduct of persistent effort. The more consistent you are, the more your willpower, focus, and confidence are reinforced. Discipline becomes habitual, instinctive, and unshakable, providing the foundation for mastery in every aspect of life. Visualization and reflection enhance the impact of consistency. By keeping a clear picture of the ultimate goal, tracking progress, and reflecting on small wins, you maintain motivation and clarity of purpose. This awareness of incremental improvement reinforces the belief that daily effort is meaningful and that progress is inevitable when actions are repeated with intentionality. The disciplined individual uses reflection to adjust, refine, and optimize actions, ensuring that consistency is not blind repetition but a dynamic, adaptive strategy toward mastery. Ultimately, the weapon of consistency transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Small wins, when compounded over time, create unshakable habits, mental toughness, and the skills necessary to dominate challenges and achieve goals that once seemed impossible. The disciplined individual understands that motivation is unreliable, talent is limited, and external circumstances are unpredictable, but consistency is invincible. It creates unstoppable momentum, makes excellence inevitable, and shapes identity, mindset, and results simultaneously. To force yourself to be disciplined, you must commit to relentless consistency. You must act daily, follow systems, track progress, and trust the compounding effect of repeated effort. Each action, no matter how small, is a deposit in the account of mastery, a reinforcement of identity, and a step toward the extraordinary. When consistency becomes your weapon, discipline is no longer a struggle. It becomes the natural expression of who you are, ensuring that every goal, aspiration, and vision is achieved through the unstoppable force of deliberate, repeated action. Discipline is not a temporary practice. It is a lifestyle. It is not an occasional effort or a series of isolated actions, but a comprehensive way of living that defines every choice, every thought, and every moment. To reach the level of unstoppable success, you must internalize discipline so thoroughly that it ceases to be a struggle and becomes the natural expression of who you are. This final edge, the transformation of discipline from an external task into an internal identity, is the culmination of every decision, habit, and ritual you have cultivated. It is the difference between those who achieve fleeting victories and those who dominate every aspect of life with relentless consistency and purpose. Turning discipline into a lifestyle begins with integration. Every action, whether personal, professional, or social, must reflect your commitment to growth, excellence, and progress. It is not enough to be disciplined in isolated areas. The strength of discipline is multiplied when it governs your entire existence. From how you manage your time to how you control your emotions, from the habits you maintain to the choices you make under pressure, a disciplined lifestyle ensures that every element of your life aligns with your goals. The person who lives this way does not rely on motivation, luck, or external circumstances. Their success is inevitable because every fiber of their being is tuned toward achievement. Consistency is amplified when discipline becomes an identity rather than a task. When you see yourself as a disciplined individual, every decision is filtered through that identity. Laziness becomes incompatible with who you are, procrastination becomes impossible, and hesitation is replaced by decisive action. This self-concept is a powerful internal driver, far stronger than any external incentive or fleeting burst of motivation. Identity-based discipline eliminates the need for constant reminders or willpower. It becomes a default mode of existence, shaping behavior automatically in alignment with your long-term vision. Mastering the lifestyle of discipline requires relentless self-awareness. You must constantly monitor your habits, thoughts, and behaviors, identifying where you are slipping, compromising, or allowing distractions to erode your focus. Awareness allows you to course-correct before minor deviations become entrenched patterns. Discipline is reinforced when you actively observe yourself and respond to gaps between your actions and your standards with immediate accountability. This level of vigilance ensures that consistency is maintained and that progress never stalls. Rituals and systems form the backbone of a disciplined lifestyle. These are not arbitrary routines, but carefully constructed practices that support your goals and reinforce your identity. Daily rituals, morning routines, focused work sessions, exercise, reflection, and planning all create a structured environment that makes disciplined action natural and automatic. Systems eliminate reliance on motivation, reduce friction, and provide a framework within which excellence becomes inevitable. When rituals are embedded into the fabric of life, discipline ceases to feel like effort and begins to feel like a natural extension of your purpose and ambition. Embracing discomfort remains a defining feature of a disciplined lifestyle. Success is rarely comfortable. It is forged in moments of tension, challenge, and resistance. Those who turn discipline into a lifestyle do not avoid difficulty. They seek it, understanding that growth and resilience are built in discomfort. They confront fear, fatigue, and temptation head-on, using each challenge as an opportunity to reinforce their mental toughness and commitment. Discomfort is no longer an obstacle, but a signal that progress is being made, a reminder that the lifestyle of discipline requires courage, persistence, and an unrelenting refusal to settle for mediocrity. Accountability and reflection continue to amplify success at this stage. A disciplined lifestyle is not stagnant. It evolves through constant evaluation and adjustment. Regular reflection on actions, results, and alignment with goals allows you to optimize routines, correct course, and maintain clarity of purpose. Accountability, whether to yourself, mentors, or systems, ensures that even as habits become ingrained, you continue to operate at the highest level. This combination of self-monitoring and external reinforcement creates a feedback loop that solidifies excellence, turning small, incremental improvements into monumental achievements. The lifestyle of discipline also demands mastery over focus and priorities. Distractions are inevitable, temptations will arise, and challenges will persist, but the disciplined individual does not succumb. They consistently filter their attention toward what truly matters, eliminate what is irrelevant, and direct energy toward high-impact actions. Focused execution, when reinforced by a lifestyle of discipline, multiplies productivity, accelerates results, and ensures that time and energy are invested where they create the greatest return. This precision in action differentiates average performers from unstoppable achievers. Mental and emotional resilience reaches its peak in this stage. By living a disciplined life, the mind becomes trained to endure setbacks, resist external pressures, and maintain clarity under stress. Discipline is no longer a response to challenge. It is a preemptive shield, a default posture that allows action to continue regardless of circumstance. Success is sustained because the individual is not swayed by fear, fatigue, or doubt. Instead, their identity, rituals, and consistent actions form an unbreakable foundation that ensures progress is continuous, inevitable, and compounding. Finally, the lifestyle of discipline produces freedom, power, and influence. By mastering oneself, controlling actions, and committing to relentless consistency, you no longer depend on external validation, luck, or circumstance. Your achievements, habits, and character become self-sustaining forces that drive results and command respect. Discipline transforms from a practice into a way of life that generates opportunities, builds legacy, and establishes authority over both internal and external challenges. Living this way, success is no longer a goal. It is the natural outcome of your choices, identity, and unrelenting commitment. Turning discipline into a lifestyle is the final edge that guarantees unstoppable success. It is the culmination of relentless commitment, mental mastery, consistent action, and the courage to embrace discomfort. It is the embodiment of small wins compounded over time, rituals embedded in daily life, and unwavering focus on meaningful objectives. Discipline becomes the standard by which every choice is made, shaping every thought, every habit, and every action. This is the power of living a life defined by discipline. It is unstoppable, inevitable, and extraordinary. To achieve this, you must commit fully, integrate discipline practices into every aspect of your life, embrace the challenges that come, and allow your identity to be defined by your relentless pursuit of growth and excellence. Discipline is no longer a tool you use. It becomes the life you live, the lens through which you see the world, and the engine that propels you toward mastery, achievement, and fulfillment. Every day, every decision, and every action becomes a declaration of commitment, ensuring that success is not just possible, but inevitable, unstoppable, and absolute. Discipline is the ultimate currency of success, and the lessons you have absorbed throughout this journey are not mere ideas. They are the blueprint for transforming your life. Every chapter, every principle, and every insight has been designed to guide you toward the one truth that separates ordinary people from those who dominate their world: the ability to force yourself to act consistently, deliberately, and relentlessly until victory is no longer a possibility but a certainty. Discipline is not something you try, it is something you live. It is not a temporary fix or a motivational surge that fades with time. It is the unwavering standard by which every choice, every thought, and every action in your life is measured. By embracing it fully, you create a life where success is inevitable, resilience is unshakable, and excuses no longer have power over you. The path of discipline is not comfortable, and it was never meant to be. Growth is forged in struggle, character is built in resistance, and strength emerges from moments when most would quit. Every early morning, every moment of focus when distraction tempts, every act of persistence when fatigue whispers retreat, contributes to an identity of unstoppable determination. Your mind, your body, and your habits align through repetition, intentionality, and mental mastery, transforming obstacles into opportunities, discomfort into fuel, and small wins into monumental achievements. This is the power of deliberate action and the compounding effect of consistent effort. What may feel insignificant today becomes extraordinary tomorrow, and the life you dream of becomes tangible, inevitable, and undeniable. To truly internalize discipline, you must move beyond doing it for outcomes or recognition. You must act because you are disciplined. Your identity must embrace it so fully that every decision, every choice, every reaction flows naturally from it. Laziness, procrastination, and hesitation become foreign concepts. Distractions are merely challenges to overcome, and setbacks are nothing more than stepping stones to refinement and mastery. Living with discipline transforms your existence because it is no longer a struggle. It becomes an unstoppable force that drives your life in every direction you intend. Every action becomes purposeful, every habit reinforces your goals, and every day is a step forward toward mastery, excellence, and the life you are destined to create. The journey to disciplined living is ongoing, and mastery is never truly complete. Each day offers a new chance to reinforce your habits, strengthen your mind, and assert control over your choices. It demands vigilance, focus, and a relentless commitment to excellence. Yet, it is in this very persistence, this daily return to deliberate action, that freedom, power, and unstoppable momentum are found. You are no longer subject to circumstance, emotions, or fleeting motivation. You are in control of your destiny, empowered by the habits, systems, and identity you have cultivated. The final truth is simple. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you have the power to become. It is the weapon that transforms intention into action, struggle into strength, and small wins into extraordinary results. By forcing yourself to be disciplined, you ensure that every moment, every choice, and every effort propels you closer to your ultimate vision. Commit to it, live it, and embrace it fully, for in this commitment lies the life of mastery, achievement, and unstoppable success you were always meant to live. Your journey does not end here. It begins in every choice you make from this moment forward, and your victory is inevitable.